It's a good day to have a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are talking Traitors. That's right. So I am giving it to you right now, people. Here is your spoiler alert. We are getting ready to recap season 4, episode 7. So if you have not seen episode 6 or episode 7, pause this video, go back, watch those episodes, come back to this video, and let's recap together because we always have a good time here, right? I every time I recap Traitors, you hear me say the same thing. I am obsessed with this show. Every single episode does not disappoint. I'm so in love with this cast, and it is just getting better and better and better. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish. We are recapping Traitors, Season 4, Episode 7. Last spoiler alert, I'm giving to you right here. If you have not seen Episode 6 or Episode 7, pause this video, go back, watch those episodes, then come back here, and we can recap together. It's so much fun. You know it is, okay? All right, we're getting right into it. So let's start off by where we ended. So in the last episode, remember, Rob, Snaky Rob, he voted off Rinna. Well, he voted for her at the round table. And unfortunately, the one that got banished was Ron. And what did we find out? That's right. Ron is a faithful. We knew that, okay? Even though he was a little nasty to Dorinda, but we'll get into that again sometime. So Ron has been banished, okay? But that wasn't the end of it. Oh, no, no, no. Alan comes to the round table and says everyone is invited to dine at his banquet. Okay? And so what we find out is that earlier, up in the turret, Alan is speaking to the traitors. And what he's telling them is that the next murder is going to happen at this banquet, and it's going to be a face-to-face murder. Now, he opens up this box, and there's this beautiful amulet, like a brooch. And he says, the faithful that touches the brooch is the one that will be murdered, okay? So all three of them are like looking at each other, and Rob, I mean, what is he going to do? Put it on his overalls? So Snaky Rob, he's not going to be able to do it. And, cunning Candace there, she's more than happy to pass this to Lisa effing Rinna. You know it. And Lisa, I mean, she was meant for this, right? She's like, I got this. I'm doing this. I can do this. Okay? So everyone that is at this banquet, I mean, they are dressed to kill. Let's talk about some of these looks. Number 1, Kristen. I mean, this chef cannot do wrong by her looks. Very classic in a red, almost like a pantsuit type thing. Just beautiful, okay? Cunning Candace, she had this big gold thing on top of her head. It looked like it was about to eat her brain. I did not like her look. Mara. Now, Mara, she was probably my favorite. She had this huge hat that, like, one of those ones that, like, sits sideways, like, perfect for eyebrow raising. You know what I mean, right? And the top of her gown was like a gold metallic, and the bottom was like black. She looked beautiful. Stunning, matter of fact. Hello. Jam Jam. We have to talk about Jam Jam. He had this white suit on with no shirt underneath, with a white feathered boa on one side. Perfect for Jam Jam. I mean, just perfect, right? But the best one was Lisa effin' Rinna. I mean, she came down this staircase. She had black and white like this huge gown with lots of ruffles. The sleeves were ruffles. It was incredible. She almost had like a sailor type hat to go with it. Stunning. Perfect for a face-to-face murder. I'm just saying. So everybody is now entering this banquet, and of course, you know, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. Oh my gosh, you look stunning. You know, all that stuff, right? And meanwhile, you know, Cunning Candace and Snaky Rob, number one, they don't know who Lisa's going to go for. Number two, they don't even know if she can pull it off. Like, everyone is paranoid here. I mean, everyone, okay? They're on edge. They know that they're just not getting this beautiful buffet for nothing. There's got to be a catch, right? So, Lisa Rinna comes in, you know, and she is saying, like, as she's walking down the staircase, she's saying, like, I love nothing more than for the attention to be on me. That is Lisa effin' Rinna right there, okay? So she enters the banquet and, you know, she's making small talk. Oh, you look beautiful. Oh, I love what you're wearing, you know. And somehow she kind of gets in a corner, like it's her and Jam Jam. And she's, you know, and Jam Jam is saying to Lisa, oh, Lisa, you look fabulous. You know, you almost have like stars like in your eyes, you know, that type of thing, right? And so now you hear in her, you know, while she, basically like her confessional, like her inner voice, if you will. So if she goes for Jam Jam, okay, nobody will suspect her. I mean, he didn't vote for her at the last round table. Then there is Kristen. She's standing there. Now, Kristen is the quiet one. And the quiet ones you always have to watch, but very, very smart. Then there's Natalie, a gamer, and she's dangerous. So, who is she going to pick, right? And how is she going to get one of them to touch this brooch that's on her lapel? Well, let me tell you, Lisa effin' Rinna came up with the most brilliant plan. All of a sudden, Lisa goes, oh, can you help me? It's like my pin is sticking me. It's open. Can you close it for me? And all you see is her say, and the murder is complete. So now you're like, oh my God. Well, which one was it? Was it Natalie? Was it Jam Jam? Or was it Kristen, right? So meanwhile, everyone is looking around the room, and I think it was possibly Steven or maybe Eric, one of them, who said, look, there's a whole bunch of tarot cards here, and somebody said, well, flip one of them over, and they flipped one of the cards over, and the first one they flipped was Kristen and had her face on it. And they were like, oh, it's got Kristen's face. Well, now everyone's like, well, the cards must mean something, So everyone's like, well, I guess let's eat, or the production told them to start eating, So everyone now is like at the food. They've got turkey, they've got ham, they've got look like roast pork, so, people are, getting food. There's green beans and potatoes, and, I think Steven was like cutting pieces of the roast off and like slicing it, and putting, people's plates. And Tara says to Dorinda, how long do you think this food's been sitting here? Dorinda's like, who cares? It's food. And that kind of tells you, like, this cast is starving. Like, they don't care if it's hot, cold, they just want it, right? So they're all getting food, and they're all starting to sit down one by one. And Rob, Snaky Rob, he's at the end of the table, and you hear him pop the bottle, and, so everyone's like, wee, and he starts pouring, and, I think he probably poured his own glass, but I'm just saying. And so, sure enough, everyone starts talking about their experience there. For instance, Jam Jam was like, this was such a wonderful experience. He loves this entire cast. And he wanted everybody to know, like, if you ever come to Puerto Rico, you always should know you have a brother there, because he's from Puerto Rico. And so everyone was like leaving little sentiments, and, everyone's like, I like that. That's so nice, So they finally start toasting, and then boom, here comes Alan. Except Alan comes in with these two black soldier minions, whatever you want to call them. You can't see their faces. He sits down at the table, and these two minions are standing behind him. And he says, I'd like to tell you a story. I love Alan Cummings. So obsessed with him. He's like, the story is about the Black Dinner, In 1440, the king invited all these noble clan, but he invited them under false pretenses because they were served their own demise. Well, everyone's looking around at each other, and they're like, oh, crap, here it comes, And then Alan decides to explain, the traitors have done the same to you lot. They have committed murder right here underneath your noses. But then Alan goes, but there's hope. Everyone's like, hope? So then he kind of, waves, and two of his minions come out on either side of him are these potions. And he's like, here are two antidote potions. Now, there's only two. He's like, but if one faithful drinks the potion and they were cursed by the traitor, they no longer will be cursed, and they will live another day. Well, I have to tell you, Lisa effing Rinna, she was a little shook. I mean, you could see it all over her face. If anybody was looking at her, they would have been like, what's her problem? I mean, she was just like, what is going on? And in her confessional, she's like, I just did all this work, And now you're going to put a twist on it, And he's then explains to everyone, you have a very short time to discuss which two faithful are going to drink these potions. Well, I mean, it was a little crazy. Everyone is so paranoid, okay? I mean, Natalie starts by, okay, everyone, we're at this banquet. Was anybody served something to drink? Was anybody served any food? Well, I mean, Natalie's like, right away, Greg served me, meat. So I need to drink the potion because he served me meat. And, another person was yelling, what about the cards? We flipped a card over. There was Kristen's face. Kristen should drink the potion. Here's Tara. I mean, I don't like Tara. I have to tell you, she kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way. I know she's like the princess on ice, but it doesn't work for her here. Just saying. She's like, Dorinda, you made me take turkey. Like, I didn't want to eat turkey, and you put the turkey on my plate. Dorinda's like, I'm a natural server. and by the way, if you listen while people are getting their food, you could hear Dorinda going, oh, do you want me to get that for you? Oh, do you need this? Oh, here, put this on your plate. I mean, she really is a natural server, but everyone is so paranoid, So the time's ticking, okay? And Natalie's like, no, I think she starts standing up. I think I should take the antidote because I was served meat. And I was served meat, and everyone's like, everyone was served meat, and then here's Tara, Dorinda served me turkey. I need it because Dorinda served me turkey. And somebody was like kind of, cheering for Kristen in her corner, saying, I don't know, I think Kristen should take the antidote because it was her face that was flipped over on those cards. And you hear Yam Yam just whisper once. He's like, I don't know. Lisa kissed me on the cheek. So there's this like all this commotion going on. And so, Natalie's now running to the front and Tara's running to the front. And the antidotes are sitting right there, right where Kristen actually is sitting. And I don't know who encouraged her, but they were like, Kristen, take the antidote. So finally she like takes it. She starts drinking it. So now Tara and Natalie, they are fighting over this antidote. And you hear Mara turn around and say, if you want to drink the effing drink, just drink it then. And Natalie just pops it open and just guzzles it. Okay? So now you've got Natalie and Kristen. They're the ones that drank the antidote. So Alan is saying, were one of them the targeted one by the traitors? No. So now everyone's like, oh, what? They weren't? And so Alan starts walking around the table and he turns around and he points to Yam Yam and he goes, you, Yam Yam, are the one the traitors murdered. And these two soldiers, I'm not joking, grab Yam Yam. They're like literally, physically carrying him out while he's fighting, like kicking and screaming. And he's screaming, it's Lisa, she kissed me. It was Lisa, she murdered me. It was Lisa. This must have been the most dramatic murder I think I have ever seen on the Traitors. I mean, he was yelling all the way out of the room. I'm not joking. And I think he was probably kicking his way out too. So now everyone's like, And Alan basically was like, this is what happens, enjoy, basically, is how he kind of like ends it. You know what I'm saying? And everyone's like sitting there, kind of looking at each other. And Lisa Rinna right away was like, I didn't kiss him. I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't kiss him. Okay. And in her confessional, she was like, it wasn't even the kiss. I worked all this, and it wasn't even the kiss, and she's being like, piled on. And it wasn't the kiss. It was him fixing her pin, but he didn't know that, So the next day, everyone's at breakfast, and the first three in is the Traitors. Lisa F. and Rinna, Snaky Rob, and Cunning Candace. Now remember, this is the first time they've actually had a chance to speak, okay? And we are talking awkward, all right? So Lisa and Candace and Rob sit down, and Lisa goes, so what's your plan? And Candace is like, well, we're going to diffuse the situation. And Rob is kind of like, well, I'm going to do what I keep doing, I'm going to listen to people. And she's like, Lisa turns around and goes, I think you did a little bit more than listen, don't you think? Because remember, he voted for her at the round table. And he's like, look, everyone knew I didn't think Ron was a traitor. And it would be weird if I voted for Colton, because me and Colton are tight. He's like, so I voted for you, but I knew you weren't going to get out. And Candace was like, by one vote. And so Candace turns around real like sly to Rob, and she's like, put some food on your plate, And, Lisa's like, well, now the heat is on me, and I've done all this work. So I expect the two of you to now help me out here. Like, we need to get people thinking not towards my way, and diffuse the situation. And in Rob's confessional, he's like, look, that was awkward. I didn't like that much. He's like, I didn't really like being chewed out by two housewives. He's like, but Lisa signed her banishment certificate when Yam Yam started yelling her name as he's being dragged out by those soldiers. Like, it's kind of out of his hands. So the rest of them now, they all enter breakfast, And right away, I have to tell you that everyone is now looking at Natalie sideways, a little bit at Tara sideways. Natalie's like, that was a lot. And, Mara was like, yeah, that was intentional. And, Colton, Eric first brings up, Stephen brought up the whole, card situation. And Colton looks at Lisa. Well, he's been gunning for her anyway, so this was just music to his ears hearing Yam Yam say this, So Colton says to Lisa, Yam Yam said you actually kissed him. And Lisa's like, I didn't kiss him. I air kissed him. And I air kissed Rob. I air kissed Johnny. Johnny's like, yep. And she's like, but I know you're a dog with a bone. You're not going to give it up, And meanwhile, Colton's got this crappy look on his face. To be honest, if I was Lisa, I just want to smack that smile right off his face. You know what I mean? And Tara is like, I want to apologize. She's looking at Dorinda for, freaking out, and Dorinda was kind of gracious. She was like, everybody was paranoid. And Natalie says, I was freaking out, and she's saying sorry to Steven. But it was the way, like Natalie was like, but I was just freaking out. And Lisa Rinna's like, yeah, you were. Like, you could see that this is exactly the direction that Lisa was going to go. You know what I mean? And of course, Alan enters and does his normal breakfast routine. And breakfast then ends, and everybody goes to their different rooms. And this is where you can sometimes get a hold of which way the day's going. You know what I mean? And Mark and Johnny are now like having a convo here about Natalie. How all the gamers have been killed off except for her, and how like she was just so strong that she had to have that anecdote, that it was a little off. And Dorinda is in the kitchen, and this is what gets me about Dorinda. I adore Dorinda. I want to put that out there. She is probably one of my all-time favorite housewives. I feel a kinship with Dorinda. We have a lot of things we cook. We love to cook. We come from a similar background. We're even Sagittarians. You know what I mean? But I expected Dorinda, especially being invited back, to play this game so differently. But instead, she's acting like a complete airhead. I mean, a complete airhead. This is an example. So she's in the kitchen, and she says, I never heard Yam Yam say Lisa's name once. Are you kidding me? The man was screaming it as he was being dragged out of the buffet, and you didn't hear it? Really? Are you on Earth? That's what I mean by playing like an airhead. Candace, she's on about Natalie. She's, talking, and, Colton and Lisa's in there, and Candace says, well, I'm going for Nat. She's like, I think that Natalie was keeping the potion away from a faithful, and that's why she went so hard for it. Total traitor behavior, And Kristen says, so we're not on Lisa anymore? Not even after what Yam Yam said? And Colton's kind of like looking at Kristen like, I don't know about this, And Candace is like, yeah, I feel stronger more than ever now about Natalie. Like, yep, that's who I'm going for. And so Tara and Natalie are in a room talking. And Tara's like, look, like the way you came wanting that antidote, like I 100% thought you were a traitor. She's like, but when I'm talking to you like this, I 100% believe you're a faithful. And then I go back and then I don't know what to think. She's like airhead number 2, basically. So while these two are going back and forth, Lisa Rinna like comes into the room. They're like, you can come in. It's not a private conversation. We're just talking about what happened last night. And Lisa goes, why were you going at the anecdote so hardly? And Natalie turns around and says, listen, I mean, we already, murdered one. I mean, we already killed one. I mean, we already banished one. Lisa's like, did she just say murdered one? Oh, yes. I'll take that. You know. And, like, she can't even believe she said it. And I couldn't believe she said it either, really. Like, you know, I can't even believe that Tara didn't even have a reaction. Like, what did you say? No, Tara's like the whole time. Really weird. Meanwhile, you know, Steven's like, I don't know. I think this could be, you know, Steven and Mark are talking. And he's like, I think we could be looking at a double bluff here with a traitor. You know, talking about Natalie, pleading for their life. And then here's Mara. Like, okay, I take it back. Mara is definitely like airhead number 2. She turns around and says, now, what did Yam Yam say? Like, they probably heard the man screaming, wailing, like 3 castles away. He said it was Lisa, Mara. So then Rob is sneaky Rob. He's in the midst of this conversation. And he says, look, he looks around. I don't want to get murdered. But when you have 2 people who are telling a different version of the same story, one of them's lying. Really? I mean, okay. That's not too hard to figure out, Rob. But, you know, then he does say, like, I just think it was really weird that Yam Yam was saying that Lisa actually kissed him on the cheek. And, you know, he said if you watch Lisa's reaction, right away, she was like, I didn't do that. And he's like, but he has no reason to lie. Like, he's already murdered. He has no reason to lie. And, which is true, okay? So, you know, I mean, if it was anybody but Yam Yam, I would actually think, well, they could have been putting it out there because maybe they were mad or something. But, I mean, the way this man was like, I mean, he hit soprano very quickly as he was yelling as they're like dragging him off, screaming, it was Lisa! She kissed me! Hi everyone, Cece Ray here. I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite, and I do mean favorite, websites for savings, and we all love savings. It is called Morning Save, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, so see this? Now, I'm showing you this for a reason, okay? This is Dermalactives. It's a 7-in-1 LED light therapy mask. Now, you and I both know you can't find this for less than $100 anywhere, okay? I bought this for $39. Matter of fact, I bought one for my daughter too, and I bought it for $39 at Morning Save. Now, they not only just have beauty products, I mean, they have everything from fashion, home interior, organization, even sometimes cleaning supplies. But there is a catch. If you find something on that website and you don't buy it immediately, it could be gone. Just like that. Because they only have so much inventory. And when it's sold out, it's sold out. So make sure you visit Morning Save, go to the link in my description down below, and start all of your incredible savings. So now we're getting ready to go to the mission, okay? And Colton and Natalie, and I think it's Tara. Well, no, it was no, I'm sorry. It was Colton, Johnny, Tara. And they're talking about who they think is a traitor, you know. And Tara's like, I just don't see where Lisa would be a traitor. I just don't see it. And Johnny's like, I don't know. I think Lisa's dangerous, you know. And in Natalie's car, of course, they're talking Lisa. Okay. In Lisa's car is Mark and Dorinda. And Lisa goes on to tell Mark about how she overheard her say, we murdered. And Dorinda's like, really? Yes, Lisa. Yes, Lisa. Like, that's how this is going with Dorinda and Lisa, okay? So they get to the mission, and, you know, Alan now is explaining that all of them have to race to the very top of this hill. Well, this was not a hill. This was like a mountain. I mean, it was a long way up. And there was monuments at the top of this mountain, okay? Along the way, they're going to be gathering gold into these backpacks that they're going to be carrying. And the first 6 players that have the most gold that reach the top of the mountain will have a chance to play for the dagger. Now, the dagger is not like a shield. The dagger awards you 2 votes at the round table. And you can use it only once, but you can use it at any of the 4 remaining round tables. Okay? And so if everybody completes the mission and has gold in their backpacks, I guess, they will add to the prize pot $25,000. Okay? Now, also along the way, he said that he was starting each player off with 5 pieces of gold because he's nice. Like Alan Cummings does not do anything nice. Okay? Well, along the way, there are these, what do they call them? Turrets? When they're like ceramic vases, like hanging from these trees, okay? And if you hit one with one of your pieces of gold, you get 20 additional pieces of gold, all right? But if you don't hit it, you don't get your gold back, all right? So, Sneaky Rob, okay? He is just wailing on these things. I mean, he's not missing. And he explains how, you know, for hours at his farm, he would skim rocks across the water, and he knows how to do this. And he wasn't joking, he did. So him and Colton are going up the mountain together, okay? And because he had so much gold, all right, he was struggling carrying his backpack. And Colton turns around and says to Rob, "Here, give me your backpack. I'll carry it for you." Rob's like, "Are you sure, man?" He's like, "Yeah, you'll get me back another time." Colton's going to regret that, by the way. But that's how tight these two are, okay? They are really forming a true friendship. So while they're walking, they're talking about how everybody wants to go for Natalie and how stupid it is, when really it's Lisa Rinna, And then you see the housewives, Dorinda, Lisa, and Candace, at the bottom of the hill. They have no gold. They're just trying to make it up the hill. Like, I think they thought they were, like, doing something out of, like, a Sunday Walk with George. Like, they are, like, crawling, okay? And so Alan is at the top of the hill, and sure enough, like, here, the first one up there is Natalie. I mean, she is strong. You can see why she is, one survivor. I mean, she is Bolton. She's got a backpack full of gold. She is out for herself. And see, that's where she's making a mistake, because that's rubbing people the wrong way. Like, seriously. And, she is a good player. Yes, she's a faithful, but she's going to wind up getting banished this way, seriously, because it really is rubbing people the wrong way. Look what she just did the night before. And what is she doing again? Looking out for herself. I mean, in the past episodes, she was the first one going, "Let's take a shield. I want a shield. I'm going to jump out of the boat. If I see a shield, I'm jumping." And not thinking of the group as a whole. And I get that you need to think of yourself, but it's like a balancing act. And she's not really doing that balancing act. She really is just going for herself. But she's the first one up there. I mean, she is strong. And then, of course, here comes Rob and Colton. And then we find out that you can put all the gold you have into your chest with your name on it, or you can put it into somebody else's chest. See how the tactic there? Because remember, the top 6 players with the most gold have the chance to play for the Dagger, okay? So, like, Candace, she comes up, she has no gold, okay? Kristen, right away, she knew she didn't have enough gold to compete for the Dagger, so she gave all hers to Mark. Smart Kristen, because she trusts Mark, and Mark's a faithful, right? Tara, she gives hers to Rob. Anyway, however, Lisa, she gives her gold to Steven. Now, Steven didn't vote for her on the last round table, and I think she thought if she gave it to Steven, he'll have her back. But Colton, man, he's got eagle eyes on Lisa, and right away he saw it. And he goes, "Why did Lisa just give her gold to Steven?" So I think he's thinking, like, if Lisa's a traitor, is Steven a traitor too? Are they playing hand in hand? Just saying, So, the ones that have the most gold now that are going to play for a Dagger was Natalie. We knew that, right? Colton, Eric, Mark, Rob, and Steven. Okay. Now, out of all them, the one with the most gold gets an advantage. Okay. So Ellen sends the rest of the cast home. They're all standing around this like table. Okay, Rob is standing there facing the other 5. Each person has a stone tablet, okay? Only one of those stone tablets had the emblem of the dagger. Rob has to figure out, by asking them questions, who has the dagger and who doesn't, and who's lying to him. Well, you know, in his confessional, he was like, I am a human lie detector. He wasn't joking. I mean, he had a system and it worked. So he would say, what's your name? Eric. Where are you from? Atlanta. Do you have the dagger? No. All right. This is how he did it. When he got to Natalie, he said, how do you like the leather? She goes, oh, I don't mind it. What's your favorite color? Black. Do you have the dagger? No. You sure? Yeah. Hello. He knew exactly who was lying. So he gets the dagger from Natalie, okay? But get this. When they come back, before they go inside the castle, he goes, come here, everybody. Come here. He goes, I trust you. I am a faithful. I have the dagger. He goes, let's make a pact that we don't tell anybody who has the dagger. They're all like, oh, yeah. I'm not quite sure why nobody is thinking, that doesn't do anything for me. You're the one with the 2 votes. I don't have 2 votes. If I keep the secret, you still have 2 votes. Except if you don't keep the secret, I don't know, he might use the 2 votes on you. I don't know. I get why he did the pact, because he wants them to trust him. But for the people making the pact with him, it doesn't do anything for them. Okay. So of course now it's dinner time, you know. And Candace whispers to Lisa, Johnny's really onto you. Well, Lisa's like, basically like, who's not? After what Yam Yam did, right? And Rob says to Steven, are we still going for Lisa tonight? Steven's like, there must have been at least 7 people in that kitchen. They're all going for Natalie. Rob's like, what is going on, you know? And so now we're at the round table, okay? And Lisa Rinna right away goes, Natalie, I'd like to talk to you about something. She's like, when you were in the library and you and Tara were talking, you said when we murdered. Didn't she, Tara? Tara's like, this really hurts me, but I think you did. You can tell Natalie isn't even sure that Tara knows what she's talking about. And she says, did I say that, Tara? She's like, mm-hmm. She's like, well, I didn't mean it, you know. And now, of course, everybody's like, what? She said, we, you know. And so then, of course, you know, Johnny says, I would like to address you, Natalie. Last night at dinner, I mean, you were really fighting to get that anecdote. And I believe that if you were a traitor, you would be begging for your life so that a faithful would not be able to drink that antidote. And Natalie's like, look, I was fight or flight. She's not saying it was wrong, but that's my reasoning. Well, here goes Colton. You know he couldn't let things be, right? He's like, I would like to discuss Yam Yam. Natalie's like, I would like to discuss him too. He's like, I would like to know why, and he looks at Lisa. Well, first he says this. This is important. He says, I now know. Because remember, he thought Yam Yam was a traitor for a while there. He goes, I now know with 100% that he could have been trusted because he was a faithful. So my question is, Lisa, why was Yam Yam's last words, why would he aggressively go for you? Lisa's like, I don't know. Which is what Rob had told a bunch of people, by the way. And, Candace right away jumps in. She's like, I don't think it's fair to paint him as a person with no indiscretions. This is the same person who faked crying. And, Lisa Rinna is like, look, he yelled my name because the heat was already on me. Like, that's the bottom line. So, Natalie is like, basically, I think you were pointing towards me because you want the heat off you. Natalie's like, it doesn't serve him. Like, he's out of the game. It wasn't serving him anymore to say your name. And Yam Yam, God, I just keep thinking of Yam Yam yelling his way out of there. But Mara says, listen, Yam Yam, Lisa, you greeted Yam Yam by kissing him on the cheek. And I know this because I was standing there and I was thinking, oh God, I hope she doesn't kiss me too because I didn't want your makeup on my makeup. Here goes Dorinda. Well, I was there, Mara. You're wrong. She air kissed you. She air kissed Yam Yam. And so you're wrong. It's almost like, yes, Lisa. Yes, Lisa. You know what I mean? Whatever you say, Lisa. Mara's like, you weren't even there. It was just me, Lisa, and Yam Yam. But Rob says, listen, because at this point, it's between Natalie and Lisa. Rob says, last night, emotions were high. And right now, we got to take emotions out of the equation. Now you all want to go for Natalie. Okay? But what was Natalie's motive by drinking that potion? Tara was not a target. We know that now by the Traitors. So what would have been her motive? To just make a target out of herself? Think about it. Logic. And he says, I got a question for everybody. Like, think about this. We as faithfuls, we're given nothing. We're not given any guarantees. He goes, I don't know if any of you are lying to me. I can tell if you're lying to me or not. He said, but what we do have is Yam Yam. He goes, the last thing Yam Yam said was, Lisa, is a traitor. He goes, now, I can't sit at this table or look myself in the mirror if he's right, because he is the only person who is speaking to me as 100% faithful, and we know it. Lisa's like, I air kissed him like I air kissed you. Rob's like, that's the thing, Lisa. When you're faced with a disagreement, your response is, it didn't happen, or I don't remember. And that's where Alan shuts it down. So now everybody starts to vote. Okay? They're going around one by one. Lisa. And of course, Tara's like, I think you, Natalie. Everybody else, Lisa. And, when it comes to Candace, she's pissed. She is so pissed because of what Rob just did. Like, it definitely, Natalie would have gotten banished if it wasn't for him standing up at this round table and, by the way, making really valid points, even though he's a traitor. So she says, Natalie, I'm not sure if you're a traitor or not. And she looks at Lisa and she goes, and I know you're not a traitor. And she goes, so I'm just throwing away a vote. So here's my throwaway vote. I vote for Rob. Rob's like, what? She's voting for me? So, of course, at the end, ding dong, she's gone. Lisa Rinna is banished. Listen, Lisa Rinna played an awesome game. She was meant for this role. She was meant to be a traitor. Matter of fact, I really don't know, like I've said before, how this entire cast didn't think she was one from the get-go. By the way, Candace said that. But she did an excellent role. So how do you think the episode went? So, is it getting good now? I mean, we know it's getting good now. Okay? Number one, let's talk about Lisa Rinna. Okay? So, Lisa Rinna, when she gets banished, and she was iconic as she walked away. But in her confessional, she's like all tears. She's like, it was so hard for me to walk away from Housewives. And I'm just so happy that I did this and I could be myself. Number one, there's no difference. Number two, by the way, just a day ago, yesterday, I saw Lisa Rinna on TikTok talking about how she's defending herself for the fact that she's not a housewife. She wasn't a housewife on Traitors. She didn't relate to being a housewife, that she never acted like your typical housewife. It was so hard for me. Okay, Lisa effing Rinna, whatever you say, but kudos to you. You really did a good job as a traitor. And listen, whatever was going on behind those scenes, she must did an awesome time because she convinced half this cast that she wasn't a traitor for the longest time. Where brings me down to this. Now it's traitor versus traitor. That's right. Cunning Candace versus Snaky Rob. Now, we know Candace. She is furious at Rob because he just had her bestie voted out. Another housewife and a fellow traitor. So now she feels like she can't trust him. You know, when, by the way, we all know that given another, one or two times at that round table, Lisa Rinna would have been backstabbing one of them. Don't get it twisted. But this is now traitor versus traitor. And in the upcoming episodes, well, I mean, not even in the upcoming episodes, I mean, we see this happening where Cunning Candace, and I forget who she was talking to, I think it's Johnny, she's like, Rob just led that whole thing. Maybe he's a traitor. And on the opposite end, Rob, whoever he's talking to, Snaky Rob, is turning around and saying, do you think it's possible that it's all housewives up in that turret? The thing is this, Cunning Candace, she's good at taking a story, not just spinning it, but the way she does it, she doesn't like put it out in your face. Like if you notice, she's like, cutting her food, eating, going, well, that's not how I'm voting. I'm voting for Natalie because blah, blah, blah reasons. And that's it, And Rob, he doesn't really put names out there either, He's not like Colton where, hey, everybody, I want everyone's announcement. Today we are going after you. He's not like that. But when he speaks, he usually is talking to Colton, Mark. He's really kept his circle tight, but they trust him. And I don't know. But I do know, people, we definitely have the situation of traitor versus traitor. Who is going to come out of this thing alive? Who's going to be up in the turret for another day? And who's going to get banished as a traitor? What do you think? It just gets so good. And I wish it just wasn't one episode at a time because I'm dying, aren't you? But I want to hear what you have to say because, I love to start a conversation with you. Make sure you comment down below. And before you comment, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish.